A ray of hope in the midst of war. Over 100 trucks carrying humanitarian aid spreading out towards some of Syria's besieged towns. In Madea, near the Lebanese border, they're bringing medical supplies and a mobile clinic, as well as food. Thousands here are trapped by forces supporting President Assad, which include Hezbollah fighters. Aid workers say at least 40 people have died of malnutrition in the town since October.
The sieges must be lifted from all areas because the trapped people are civilians and they are suffering.
This convoy is heading for the towns of Fua and Kafria in the north. Around 20,000 people here have been cut off by armed rebel groups. Heavy gunfire rattles near Muadamiyah, close to Damascus. Rebels guard the entrance to the city, where trucks line up, carrying supplies for at least 30,000 people trapped here. More aid is expected to arrive in Deir ez-Zor in the east, parts of which are held by ISIL. The convoys are part of an agreement reached last week in Munich by over a dozen countries, including the US and Russia. But there's no deal to make sure the supplies keep coming, and not all the towns under siege can be reached.
Why doesn't the northern countryside of Homs get aid? UN resolutions call for aid to reach all areas. Is the UN waiting for the regime to force rebels to surrender and agree to ceasefires before aid can enter?
The northern countryside of Homs has been a battleground for months. The United Nations warns that local supply routes have been cut off by a Syrian government offensive. The UN says food shortages could get worse for the 120,000 who live here. The last UN aid convoy to reach this part of the countryside was in October. Now the opposition-controlled east of Aleppo city, where tens of thousands of people live, is close to being besieged. A pause in the fighting has been agreed for the end of this week, but there's still no sign it'll happen. An international task force will hold its first meeting on Friday to discuss the practicalities of ending hostilities in Syria. First, they need to agree on who they regard as Syria's legitimate opposition and who is on the international list of so-called terrorist groups. Rob Matheson, Al Jazeera.